Hello, folks, and welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Dave, that's Scott, and we are going to review 1982's Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan.
Hell
The
yeah.
best, the absolute best. Listen to what I'm saying. The best Star Trek movie ever made, bar none. Don't care. Not going to argue. The best Star Trek movie ever made.
And
What do
that,
you think,
folks, is
Scott?
our review of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Tune in next week. That's pretty much it, man. I'm right there with you on that. As I always tell people, this is Wrath of Khan is to Star Trek what Empire is to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's
I said to the wife last night watching Wrath of Khan, and I'm sitting there waiting for Khan to meet Chekhov and all this. I'm just, oh, this is so good. I love, and I'm literally saying the lines before they say them. And Kat just starts laughing at me. I said, I've seen this movie like I don't know how many times. I saw this thing at the theater about 10 or 15 times by myself as a kid. I would just keep going, and then I would sit there because back in the day you could sit in the theater like 3 or 4 shows.
Oh yeah, nobody cared. You could just
until
sit
they
through all the
finally
shows.
kicked you out. But I would just sit there and watch this thing, and just I don't know initially why, other than some of the action and the space shots and stuff. But now as an adult, I really get why I enjoyed the movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember looking at Kat and I said, you could, if you've never seen any Star Trek movies, you could start with this Star Trek movie and watch all the rest with no problem and never see the very first one. The very first one was basically just a waste.
It is.
It had some good stuff in it, and you and I talked about it last week.
It's a good story. It's poorly executed.
Yeah. And this character, Khan, is based on a character, Khan Noonien Sung, from the television series, the original series, Star Trek, called Space Seed. And I texted you last night, and I asked you, did you watch it? Did you watch it?
I did. Let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
And I had seen this before, but I completely forgot about it because I remember seeing some of these scenes. Maybe I caught it when it was on a rerun or something.
Right.
Because I remember Kirk beating his ass. And,
with the pipe.
Yeah, I remember that scene well. I was like, oh, I remember this. But it was really cool because, folks, if you haven't seen Starseed, is that what it is?
Space Seed.
Space Seed. That is, it's in the first season, I believe, of the original series. And
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. When it stops, it's right before this movie. So it sets up this movie perfectly. So they will reference in the movie the events here. It's really cool to see this and who his wife was.
Oh, she was Kat looked her up last night because she was trying to figure out who she was, but she was in some westerns, and she was on a soap opera.
I forget her name, but the fact is I didn't realize, when in The Wrath of Khan he talks about losing his wife, and then you find out she was actually part of the Enterprise crew who basically became a traitor because she was so enamored by the wonderful physique of a gorgeous Ricardo Montalban. What more can you say?
Who wouldn't? I want that chest. I want Ricardo Montalban's chest. I keep working at it. It's not working. I'm sorry.
Now,
I do the push-ups. I press the weights.
We'll just ignore that they have a Mexican playing an Indian, but that's okay.
Well, the whole thing used to be that people were saying because Khan is Sikh, he's supposed to be a Sikh. And the biggest complaint even back then was people would say he's not a Sikh, he doesn't have the beard and all this.
Right.
And part of the lore is that in rebellion to the humans and to the people that he in India that he had to deal with, he shaved his face.
Hey, that's a good.
He would keep his face shaven and his hair short as part of his rebellion against humanity. And when I heard that, I was like, that somebody came up with that real quick, and that was kind of cool. That explains why.
One of the things I got because I watched Space Seed was it helped explain, because so when you watch Wrath of Khan, you wonder why is Khan so damn obsessed with destroying Kirk?
Yeah.
It's I
his
don't think it's
wife.
so much Kirk. It's you put something in Khan's path, he will not stop until he conquers it because that's how
Right.
he was genetically modified. Him and the
Right.
other tyrants who had split off and were ruling the world. Wow, they thought a lot of the 1990s what was going to happen. We
Yeah.
didn't even get space travel.
Took him about 20 years to get to this point.
Yeah.
An extra 20 years to get to World War III.
Yeah. Wow.
Wasn't wrong so far, though.
Yeah. No, not entirely. Not entirely.
And,
But
and I remember as a kid knowing, Khan was a good bad guy, he's a good villain and all this.
oh, well,
But
yeah.
like over the years, I've really realized why Khan, what like one of the reasons he was just so insane for Kirk and blood was because he looked at Kirk, he murdered his wife. I think he could have accepted all the other deaths that happened with all
Yeah.
his other people that were with him, but when his wife died, I think that's what made him snap.
He
I think
snapped because it's not logical. It's not Kirk's fault that the planet went off
exactly.
axis. So
But
he
Kirk
was
never did go
excited to
back
be
to
left.
check
He
on
was
him.
excited to be left there. He was
Yeah,
like a new
initially.
world to conquer. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And it's like, why are you coming after Kirk, you little bastard?
But when his wife died, I think that's what made his
Yeah.
mind snap because I think he was so in love with his wife.
Yeah. They had
You
good
know what I
chemistry.
mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's a good like is when you watch Space Seed, and I recommend anybody out there
Absolutely.
watch Space Seed first, then watch Wrath of Khan, and you'll see that he just snapped. Because
Yeah.
I mean, granted,
He is.
your planet just gets wiped out, and you're surviving, day to day, minute by minute, on a desert, wind-swept world that's been knocked out of its orbit.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that made him snap was, I think, his wife.
Yeah.
Okay, now, in the introduction with him and uh, Chekhov,
Yeah.
did you realize the problem with that?
I do. I do. Now, we can probably explain that. Well, because
Oh yeah,
Chekhov is nowhere in that episode. However,
no.
the Enterprise is big.
Yep,
You don't see everything. He met Chekhov somewhere in there
yep,
because
yep.
that's the only way to explain it. Because I was like, there's no Chekhov
Off camera. He knew
off
who
camera.
Chekhov was because of being off camera. He's seen
Yep.
him somewhere off camera, and I've heard people explain it. Like Harv Bennett, I think, talked about it, and Nichols,
Mhm.
Nicholas, my mind went blank on the guy who
Yeah.
Nicholas Meyer. I keep wanting to make the Nichols his last name, but I think Nicholas Meyer explained it a little bit. Like, yeah, he just met him off
Yeah,
screen
it makes
someplace.
sense. That's
So
the
it's
only thing that
not
makes
that big of. But
it's not that big of a deal.
I think this is one of the best introductions, and tell me if you agree or not. This is probably for me next to Darth Vader coming through the double doors on the rebel ship in Star Wars. I think this is the best introduction to a villain. You see him, he unwraps his face
That's
and he
brilliant.
starts talking. He talks a little bit. He talks to the captain. He talks to Chekhov. And then he walks up to Chekhov and he looks at the captain that's with Chekhov first and says, "You, I don't know." And then he turns to Chekhov and you're just like, "Oh, shit."
Yeah.
And he says, "You, I never forget a face." And he names him
Yeah.
Chekhov. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit. And Chekhov's just like, ah, shit.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
all the people to find here.
Yeah.
Damn
So
it.
it's really neat though that he is when you think of Star Trek villains, this is one that definitely is the first to mind.
He's it. Yeah.
He's
He's the
so
villain.
good.
I think next to Klingons, Khan.
Next to Klingons, and I have a new favorite, which is Vatic, Amanda Plummer. I thought was brilliant
Yeah.
in her role, and especially what I did after watching this, I went through and I watched all the trailers for all the movies again, back to back.
Oh, nice.
So when I get to Undiscovered Country, you see Amanda's dad spinning in the chair. And it's like, there it is. There's her movements.
Unslip the dogs
Yeah.
of war.
And she acts just like him in that. And it's like, oh wow. Really cool. Really cool.
I'm telling you, I think they only missed the mark
Yes,
on not having her resemble a Klingon.
That would have been awesome.
I would have loved if she would, because if she could you imagine that I would have just pooped my pants if
What if she'd have been a descendant?
would have turned around and and been the Klingon warrior, I'd been like, oh my god, they nailed that one.
That would have been awesome.
That to me was an obvious. It was
Yeah.
an obvious, like,
Yeah, I'm not mad with the way they went with it.
No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no. But to me,
but
that was just like
that would
one
have
of
been
those.
awesome.
That was a near miss,
Yeah, it's like,
damn it.
yeah, maybe
But
two on the nose, but yeah,
back to Wrath of Khan,
yeah,
how he gets aboard the Reliant, and I like how they they at one point ask Kirk asks, "Where's the crew of the Reliant? Did he kill them?" And he's like, "No, they're on back on the surface of the planet." So he got rid of them. So whenever all the attack happens and he's blasting the ship, you know,
yeah.
you don't have to worry about like, fuck, he's killing all the people that are on the Reliant. But even then, I'm sorry, you'd have to.
You would
You
have
would
to.
have to blow
You
that
would
thing
have
out of
to.
the sky, out of space.
Yeah, yeah, and this one coming off of the motion picture into
Right.
Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan, these movies are night and day. This has got action. This reintroduces the humor that we're used to because you have the
Yeah.
camaraderie of McCoy and Spock and Kirk. This movie is much more human. It's got more excitement. It's got space battles. It looks really good.
Man,
Those
so
models are
good.
great.
So good. There's a scene where it's Captain Kirk's birthday. The movie opens on the bridge of the Enterprise and Christy Alley as Savik, which nothing against the other lady that played Savik, but Kirstie Alley will always be Savik to me.
Mhm.
I wish to God she would have done the other movies, but for whatever reason, she never did.
Yeah.
She's on the bridge. They're going through the
Hold on.
Kobayashi Maru test.
Hold on, man.
Mhm.
Hey, sorry about that, folks. I have no idea where we actually left off with Dave on some sort of tangent or rant or something
Well,
about
it
some
was just
Klingons or
about
something.
some of the cool stuff that was going on with these guys, like
Yeah.
and McCoy and Spock. But
Yeah.
like you said, they reintroduced all these guys, and there's a scene with Kirk and McCoy in
That's right. It's his birthday.
that's right, it's his birthday. That's what's going on. And I remember and I'm trying to remember where I was at. Sorry, folks. No, I
Yeah.
remember they're
Yeah.
back on the bridge doing the Kobayashi Maru. That's it. Kirstie Alley and the Kobayashi
Let's talk about that. You bring that up. That's great. This is one of the things that this movie is most known for, and just because of this whole scene of this test that all cadets and prospects, captain prospects, and everything need to go through is the Kobayashi Maru, which is an unwinnable situation, and it's to teach them how to deal with loss and death because it's going to happen. But Kirk happens to be the only one who is
ever
beaten
successfully passed the Kobayashi
because
Maru.
he changed the programming.
Yeah. That was really cool
because he didn't believe in unwinnable situations, and this is great because that whole scene, while it's humorous and it's kind of exciting because you don't know what's going on when you first see this movie. What is this? Why are Spock's dead? McCoy's dead? What's going on here? Yeah, and it really shows. It shows who James Tiberius Kirk really is,
right?
And it's really it's good. It's good, and Shatner just. I mean, God bless him. I love him on screen.
Up the scenery, doesn't he?
God, yes.
Right. The reason I bring that particular scene up is I don't know. Did you see this at the theater or was it video?
Yeah, but it's
I'm a few years older than you, so I'm not sure if
I was 12 when it came out.
Okay.
Yeah, so I saw it. Yeah.
I remember the news about Spock's death.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
big, yeah, dude.
And everybody's like, "Oh my God, Leonard Nimoy's leaving. Oh my God, you can't. There's no way they're not gonna work." And I remember watching this, and they got me fooled for about 2 minutes in that scene because like you said, everybody's dying, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And then Spock gets up, and you're like, "Oh, they had it. They were just effing with us. Okay, I get it." And then as the movie was going on, I was like, "No, that wasn't his death. That wasn't Spock's death." Because they get you though, because you're like, "Oh, because you know the rumor." You see the Spock die. You see him stand back up, and even Kirk even looks at him and says, Aren't you dead? Aren't you supposed to be dead? That's the joke. That's the ha ha. We see you, fans. We respect you, but we're still going to do it.
We're
You
still
know,
going to do it,
we're
and it's
still
going
going
to
to
hit
do it,
even harder now.
and you're going to love it when we do it. And man, that is. I don't want to jump too far ahead yet, but there's a scene that I'm going to go back to Kirk and McCoy. McCoy brings
Yeah,
him Romulan ale,
Romulan ale, of course.
and they're sitting there talking, and McCoy's just going off on a tangent. You know, you should be in a spaceship. You should,
Yeah,
you're jerking around and F this, and he's not really swearing, but that's if
kind
he
of
could have,
sounds like Picard.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I
But
mean,
he's telling Kirk, you know, you're wasting your time. You don't want to freaking be here. You dumbass, just do your job. And Kirk sits back. He's like, "Don't mince words, McCoy, or don't mince words, Bones. Tell me what you really think." And I, to this day, use that when somebody's complaining and bitching. I always look at him and say, "Don't hold back. Tell us what you really think." And I got it from that.
yeah,
Movie. It's like it's just one of those things that I'm always
yeah.
like, or like me and the wife will be doing something and we're like just overwhelmed, like, oh my God, this is just the life sucks right now. And one of us will inevitably go, we're being Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah. Oh Lord.
Just stuff like that I thought was funny.
Yeah.
What's one of your favorite scenes in the movie? Mine is like the opening with the introduction of Khan. You know he's there. You know the whole movie is about him. His name is in the
Yeah.
title, but when he introduces himself and you just see that Ricardo Montalban, you know, rich Corinthian their chest.
Yeah,
Man,
I don't know if I have a favorite scene in the movie because there's just so many moments in it.
yeah,
Um, I wish if I had any complaints, I wish they could have handled Kirk meeting his son a little bit better, like they did in Picard. But in all
yeah,
fairness, Picard had multiple season or multiple episodes to do
right,
this. They
right,
really didn't have a lot of time, um, so I think that could have been more. It could have been better,
yeah,
but I get it. We got to keep this concise. We got to keep it going. So,
right,
in all honesty, they could have left that whole that it wasn't even important to the storytelling at all.
right,
So,
right.
but
But it was
um,
nice for the fans to know that Kirk had a son.
true.
'Cause
Absolutely.
I remember seeing that and thinking, "Oh, that's cool. Kirk, you know,
Yeah.
he's not gonna
Yeah.
die alone and in space." And he dies alone and in space.
We'll get there. We're on our way to that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering when we get there if I'm going to dislike it as much as I did when I first saw it.
You're gonna dislike it more.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yeah. I
I
think
know
you're
I already don't like it, but
yeah.
will it be worse than the motion picture? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't it's up there, though. It's up there. Uh, there's just so much good stuff in this
There
movie.
is. There is. I love the little worms that Khan has to take
Oh,
their
yeah.
larva to take control, kind of a mind control. It's a neat gag, and they do a really good job with the effects on it. Because I remember as a kid
Yeah.
seeing
Oh,
that and just
yeah.
being so weirded out by this little thing going in your ear
Yeah.
and wrapping around your brain and all of that. So it was that was cool.
I remember reading as a kid that that almost got it a rated R. I don't know how true it is, but it
That's
almost
probably
got it
true.
a rated R rating because of the thing with the, you know, go digging into the
Yeah.
ear. And I'm guessing Harv Bennett or Nicholas Meyer just went nuts and said, "Are you effing
Yeah.
kidding me?
Come
Stop
on.
it." You know, it's come on. You
There's
see worse
really
stuff
not
than
a lot
that
there.
just walking down the street, even back in the 80s, you
Oh
know?
yeah. 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 Wow.
Um, trying to think of any other rumors that I heard. Oh, um, Ricardo Montalban, the most manly Mexican that ever lived, has got that tremendous chest. I mean, my God, I see that chest and I'm like, God,
It
I want a chest
almost
like that.
looks fake. It's so perfect.
And that's what people were saying. He's wearing a prosthetic. He's wearing a prosthetic. Ricardo Montalban, even back in Space Seed, if you look at
Well,
that
look
chest
at
in
him.
Space
He's
Seed,
still ripped then. It's like,
he
damn.
he was a bodybuilder. And I
Yeah.
didn't know this until
I didn't
years
know
later. I
that.
started reading about him. He was an avid bodybuilder.
Well, it's
The
obvious.
reason you never saw it was because of the suits that he was always wearing at the cut. He had everything custom fit.
Right.
Unlike a guy like Stallone or Schwarzenegger, who they still want all their muscles to rip out. And look, I'm a big guy. Ricardo Montalban wanted to look good.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to be a rich Corinthian leather, and that's the difference between the tailoring.
Mhm.
It's like I want to
Interesting.
look
Yeah,
good.
because
I
I
don't
don't
want
remember
you.
him looking bulky at all on Fantasy
No,
Island.
no, it's because of those suits. Those, I
Yeah.
mean, you make him look dapper, and he always looked dapper. He
Oh, yeah.
never looked big, but he always had that freaking chest and those arms. I mean, there's a couple of shots of his arms in this because he's wearing sleeveless stuff, but
Right.
he's got like chains around him. And there's a couple of points where he's just doing something, and you're just like, geez, man, that guy was built. He was built like a brick shit house. That
Yeah,
guy,
definitely.
you know. So, yeah, that's not a fake chest, folks.
No.
It's just it's
Yeah,
him.
I could
It's
see
what he
why people
was.
would think that because it was just way too perfect, but, yeah.
Some people just have all the luck, man.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Genetics, the great accent,
yeah.
the
And
suave debonair look.
what's cool about this character is as I'm looking forward to the next season of Strange New Worlds,
Um,
because they're dealing with the eugenics, issue
yeah,
with,
yeah,
Una Chin, and also the fact that Khan's descendant is on the bridge of the Enterprise with
yeah. And
Pike,
I'm
so
trying to think whether she's because if she is a direct descendant, i.e., like a great 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 grandchild or
Mhm.
something, that means she's got some genetic altering in her too. But they never say what side of the family she's on.
Right.
Like is she a direct descendant or is she a cousin of a brother or you know what I mean?
It
They
sounded
never
like a
say.
direct descendant, and seems like a very touchy subject, of course,
Yeah,
because at this time, it's
because of the
like this
name.
is completely outlawed. I mean, that's
Mhm.
why they arrest number 1 at the end, and
Yeah, that oh.
yeah,
I'm gonna turn off my I'll probably wind up turning off my Paramount, letting that season run all the way.
it's gonna
And
be
then when
hard.
it's yeah, it's gonna be really tough because I don't want to talk to you about it and I'm gonna
Oh,
find myself
I'll
talking to
try
you about
not
it.
to spoil it.
But I'll try and wait for the entire season and then bang or
Yeah,
drop in like when there's only like 1 or 2 episodes left.
finish her
Um,
up.
and then finish it up. But yeah, dude, I've already put the season of Strange New Worlds in my queue. I've put Picard
Mhm.
that they're on discs, so I got them in my queue
Oh,
because
nice.
I want the original. I don't want them to re-edit and re anything. I just want the original.
I
That's what I
understand.
love about hard copy stuff. That's why I like
I
real
can't
books.
argue that.
That's why I like if I can find an old VHS tape of a movie that I haven't seen in years, I will buy that VHS tape if it's still working. Because yes,
Yeah.
I still have a VHS player and I can record my movies.
I have tried to go completely digital, and sometimes it works really well, and sometimes, I have to scour the internet trying to find a fricking movie. So
Well, my problem with digital, and this could be on the other podcast too, which is Neverworld Podcast,
Neverworld podcast, folks.
and we talk about well
Aliens.
everything aliens. We talk about government conspiracies, just conspiracy stuff in general. And my thing is, they can edit anything they want if it's digital, and they
Mhm.
can just drop it out of your file and fuck
It's
you if
true,
you
and they
don't
do.
like it.
They do.
And
They
they've
do it in
done
the
it. They
video
did it.
game realm where you'll have bought something and there's been a couple cases where it has been completely removed, and if you didn't save it somewhere, you could
Yep.
never download it again. It's happened a few times, and that was like
Yeah.
one of the biggest fears. It's like, "Hey, I paid for something," but,
Mhm.
given the magic of the internet, if there's a will, there's a way. Those have made their
You
way
can get it.
back in, and you can get them if you look.
Yeah,
So
you know where
it's
to look.
you know where to
Get a
look, so
VPN is all I'm saying. Uh,
and we'll leave it at that.
but
But
yeah,
yeah, this
this.
movie
Sorry, go ahead.
is fun, man. It's got the action, it's got the great villain, it's got the humor that I love so much with this cast. This one
Mhm.
of my biggest problems was I never watched a lot of the Next Generation at
Right,
all. I've
right,
watched the movies. I like the movies better than I do the series, and my problem with
right.
the series came across so dry and so serious.
Mhm.
It wasn't it wasn't fun. It didn't have at times it had the
Yeah,
humor, but it
yeah.
didn't have the levity that I don't know, there was a certain chemistry between the main cast of the
Mhm.
original series that and now the Next Generation cast has that chemistry as we just watched in Picard. It's
Right,
just I
right.
think at the time, it was just, I don't know, it was just too slow and dry.
For me, in the Next Generation, when they got rid, I don't want to say they got rid of, but when Gene Roddenberry stopped having hands on everything, that's when the story started getting better. Because
Interesting.
the network would come in and want to do a story, and have some kind of conflict between some of the main characters, or
Mhm.
McCoy and Spock. You
Oh, they're
knew they
always
would
going
love.
at each other. Yeah.
You knew those two loved each other, man. They were
You
best
green
friends.
blooded.
Yeah, but McCoy would just go off on him,
Oh
call him
yeah.
you green-blooded inhuman bastard, kind of thing. And Spock would be like, "Oh, your emotions are going to be your undoing." Ha ha ha. And they
You
would
could
just
tell they
dig
were
at each
friends
other,
though.
but they loved each other. They were
Yeah.
friends. He didn't want any kind of anything like that with the new crew, and
Yeah.
that was bad. That
It
It
showed,
showed really
man. It's like
bad.
it felt so like, oh, this is, I don't want to watch these guys.
For me, the Next Generation in Star Trek got good whenever Worf got his hair long
Mm,
and started being BA and started beating people's butt.
yeah.
The problem with that in that series for me is Worf. They always had him getting his ass kicked.
Really?
He's a freaking Klingon, and he'd go up to fight somebody and he'd get knocked down, and it's like, really?
No,
I'm having a problem with that. But eventually they got him tougher and tougher, because
they
I
did.
think other people started going, he is a Klingon. He's not
Yeah.
going to just go
And
down
take a
like
look at him
Spock.
now.
Yeah. Um, but when the Borg got on there,
Yeah. Now I did watch all the Borg season and stuff like
yeah,
that. I
when
love, I
that
love that.
when that got on there, that's when it really,
Yeah.
really got good. That's when I think they started playing a little bit looser
Yeah.
with the friendships, and going, okay, they
Yeah.
can
And
argue about
it
this and they can
is.
do this, and so that to me was. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The
Yeah.
first two
That's what I was
seasons was
getting at
really
is,
rough to watch for me.
yeah.
As soon as
Cause
they got rid of Wesley, I was fine. I was like, thank God he's off the show. Can't
and
stand Will Wheaton.
yeah, I'm not gonna dog Will Wheaton at all. I just didn't care for the character, and that's
The
not Will's
character
fault.
was terrible.
That's not Will's fault.
It
And
wasn't written well, but
he's got his redemption.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. He did.
we'll
He
give
did.
him that.
He spotted up. It was it the second or third series he shows up in
Second
Picard.
season,
Second season at
at
the end,
the
right?
final episode
Yeah,
as the Traveler, which we know that he left as a Traveler
yeah,
in the Next Generation.
right. And I
Yeah,
thought that
so
was pretty cool. That was a nice tip of the hat
it
for him,
was, it was
and that got everybody in. That gets
yeah,
everybody into the show.
absolutely.
Trying to think, what did I really the models that they had for
Oh,
this
the models were
Wrath of
great.
Khan, and then they have them passing, and I love the fact that Savick has told Captain Kirk, in the rule book it says if nobody's talking to you, you raise your damn shields. And Kirk's like, yeah, okay, well, they'll go to
Oh yeah, she
yellow
gets
alert. Let's
scolded
get
by
prepared.
Spock or whatever.
Yeah, Spock is like, yeah, the captain knows what he's doing. Just relax. And they've all been teamed together for so long. It's almost like Spock has missed this one weak point.
Yeah.
Instead, because at one point Spock would have been the one turning around
Hmm.
going, hey, rule number one is raise your shields. And that comes back to bite him in the ass
It
hard.
does. And I love Kirk's response to Savick. Go
Oh
on quoting
yeah.
the rules,
Yeah.
please. Yeah.
Yeah. After everything's calmed down and they're just barely limping away, he's like, yeah, Commander Savick, you just keep keep the book open. Oh yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
And he basically, in that sentence, he's looking directly at her, and in that sentence, Shatner does the absolute unbelievable. The character admits, I'm absolutely wrong. You are absolutely right. And keep doing your job. No matter what stupid thing I say,
Yeah.
keep doing your job. And it's just in that sentence when he says, keep quoting the rules, or keep
Yeah.
quoting the
Something
book.
like that. Yeah.
That is just all, and it's in the eyes when he's looking at her, because he's like wiping his sweat off his head, and he's just, don't let me forget. Basically, don't let me forget that we're not all indestructible. And I
Right.
thought, wow, what a great piece of acting.
I just,
to
we
give
needed
her
a
that moment.
we needed Worf over there. It's a good day to die.
Yeah, that was the only thing missing.
But the Klingons at this point are enemies.
Yeah, they're
So,
still
and
the
we will
enemy.
see that
They're
start to
still the enemy.
change by the time we get to the last of the original series movies.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things, this is a nitpick, and maybe there's an
Okay,
explanation for it, but it deals with
I'll make
Savick.
one up.
Uh, okay, please do. Savick is crying when Spock is dead.
Yeah,
She's a Vulcan.
yeah,
That's an emotion.
it is.
So,
Vulcans do have emotions. They
okay.
do not have this is something that I read in one of the books that I read a few years ago, and some other like little histories of that were supposedly Gene Roddenberry approved.
Okay.
Now the thing with Vulcans is in public they do not show any
Ah.
emotion. In public they are very stoic. In their home they can have emotions. They're
So
still
they're
very
Mandalorians with their helmets.
so compared to humans though, even in the home they're much more subdued. But whereas a father may not, kiss his kid on the forehead like in public, when they're at home, he may put his hand on the kid and, good
Okay.
job, son.
See, I didn't
You
know
did
that.
really
I
good
thought it
today.
was like a complete cleansing of emotion and gone, and they're just
And
almost
that's what they
robotic.
do for the Culinar.
Right.
Not that, and that's like you're becoming a priest. You're becoming a
Oh,
higher,
okay.
a
That
higher
makes more
woke.
sense
You
now
become
because
like a Buddhist monk kind of
yeah.
thing.
I mean, we can
Um,
excuse Spock because
he is
of
half human.
he is half human.
But for
Savick surprised
me,
me, but that makes sense now.
Savick, when you see Savick crying, to me, that just showed to me how much Kirk meant to her because she'd been in his classes or he's been in her training
Mm-hmm.
all through the academy
Yeah.
because that's what they make a reference to when Kirk comes aboard the ship.
Right.
And Kirk says, "Are your people ready for me?" And he's like, "Well, I've, what did he say about my troops? Oh no, our cadets have come to know you over their time at the academy or something to that effect."
Yeah.
And that lets you know he's been with these guys. They're
Yeah.
they're they're willing to do whatever he says because he's been training them. And Savick probably even more so because she's going through the captain's training and
Yeah.
she's almost a captain of a starship at that point.
And what's neat is Kirk in this particular movie with his friend who has the ship, he doesn't want to take command.
Right. Right, because he's
So
like, it's probably just nothing. It's no big deal.
yeah,
And
it's
I
yours.
like,
It's yours. And he's like, Jim, you forget I have no emotion in this.
yeah, this
So,
this isn't an ego thing for me.
this is a
And see,
logical thing. Yeah.
and I think that's the big thing about Vulcans is mostly they don't have an ego.
Yeah.
And if they
That's a
do
better
have an
way to put
ego,
it.
they don't allow anybody to know that they have an ego.
Yeah.
But really, if you're Spock and you know what this guy is capable of, and you
That's the
think he's going
logical
to be the better
yeah.
man for the job, you're going to go look. It's you. It's fine. I'm perfectly content doing what I was doing. On another mission, I might be the better captain, but in this one, I think you're gonna. I think you're the guy we need.
And one of the things that if folks, if you haven't seen all of these movies, especially the next one, you'll miss a key scene in this of Spock actually transferring pretty much his soul to McCoy.
Right.
So
right.
I know where when I saw it, it's like, there it is. There it is. Oh, yep, there it is. Just
Yep.
a little.
And what's funny
remember.
is I have read, and I don't know how true this is, but I have read that was a pickup shot. That was a just in case. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know how true it is, but I think that was one of those deals where
Just
the
in case Nimoy
director and
wasn't
Leonard
coming
and
back.
everybody was just like, you know what? I know you want to quit, Leonard, and you're out. You're out now if you don't ever want to come back. But we need to do something to get you in case you do want to come back. You know what I mean? That's what I've heard. And I remember hearing Shatner, and again, don't know how true the Shatner story is because he loves to tell a good story. That they were filming, and it was like right before they do the death scene with Spock, which is when I saw that at the theater the first time, man, I welled up. I was probably
it's a
crying.
punch in the gut, man.
Oh, even to this day, I watch that scene and I'm like, that's how you kill a main character. That's how you kill a legacy character.
He was a hero
with all his friends around. You don't stab him through a fucking in the stomach with a lightsaber and throw him off a bridge.
I don't know what you're talking about. I never saw that. That movie doesn't exist.
That movie doesn't exist for me. Uh, but that's how you do it. That's, I mean, he had so much gravitas. He gave his life to save everybody on the ship
Yeah.
and to save his friend. And
Yeah.
that's their
His
moment where
friend.
their
Yeah.
hands on the glass and they can't
Dude,
touch,
it's
they
touching.
can't embrace. Man,
Yeah.
the
It's well done.
writer, God bless you, man. You did such a good job writing that. Like that's why they're on strike now, because that needs to be paid for. That
Absolutely.
needs to be paid for.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah, man. But the story that he tells is they were getting ready to shoot this, and Leonard Nimoy walked over to the director and the producer, and they're like have their private little moment, and then they shoot the scene with Spock walking by and putting his hand, remember, and Kurt and Shatner's like, the son of bitches aren't gonna bring it back. But the way he tells the story is like really long, like it's a 10-minute story, and then
Yeah.
you're just laughing by the time the end of the
Yeah.
story is done. It's just like, oh man, I wonder how true that is.
I've I've been fortunate enough to run into Shatner at 2 conventions now
Oh,
and get
nice.
a few minutes to actually
Oh,
chat with him. He has a reputation of a complete asshole to fans and everything, but
mm,
I will say for me, he was been nothing but kind
right,
and just,
right.
what you'd expect,
Yeah,
it's cool. So I just wanted to put that out there
that's
for all
cool.
of you people that hear that. It's not
He's
always true.
he's got a great sense of humor, man, and I
He
think
does.
that's what killed him with a lot of the because I read some of his books, like the books where everybody's talking about him and how
Mhm.
much they disliked him. Well, he went and interviewed them all. The only one that didn't give any kind of interview, I think, was James Doohan. James Doohan, for whatever reason, hated him, and
Really?
I still cannot find out why.
What? Wow.
He just hated him, and I think it's because well, he was bossy
Who
and.
knows?
But it's like, dude, you were best friends with Roddenberry. You'd go out on his yacht all the fucking time. Maybe you should have talked to him about a better part or a bigger
Well,
role. I don't
and
know what
here's
to
the
tell
thing. This
you.
this is a testament to how professional everybody was.
Yeah,
They may have hated each other, or may have all just but when they came to
yeah,
work, they did it, and you cannot tell because they still have chemistry. So their
right,
hate is some
right.
bullshit that they needed to work through because they can obviously get along. I'm
Yeah,
just
they could
saying.
obviously work together.
Yeah.
I think Chekhov, Koenig
Yeah.
seems to be the only one who got along with everybody. That's from what I could read in this book. And Nichelle Nichols was after she cleansed her soul with him and was like, he did the interview and he's getting up and he's leaving. And I know we're talking about a lot of other things, but these are
Yeah,
just
it's
things that
Star Trek.
randomly come into my mind. Like as he's getting up to leave Nichelle Nichols, she's like, "Oh, don't you want to hear about the bad stuff?" And he had no idea. He was just talking about old days, like when did we do the show and this
Right?
and that. And he's like, "What do you mean bad stuff?" And she's like, "Didn't you know how much everybody hated you?" And that was like the first time anybody said anything to him. Like, you're working together, you're
That
doing all
had to
this.
be a shock.
Yeah, and he says it was in the book, and I forgot which the name of the book, which book it was in, but he basically sits back down, turns back on the recorder, and says, tell me everything."
Wow.
And they talked and talked, and a lot of it is in his book,
Oh,
in
wow.
one of the books.
I need to check that out.
And it seems like after that, those two got to be a little bit closer. But she did say she does in that whole thing talk about her being really sick and something was going on. She's getting ready to quit the show. She tells the story of
Martin Luther
talking
King.
to Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
But she's still getting ready to quit the show at some point. And something happened where she like was just passing out, and she's like, I want to say, William Shatner just picked her up like a rag doll and carried her to wherever she had to be. I forgot whether it was to
Hmm.
the car and drove her home or to the car to have someone drive her home. But she says that he just picked her up like she was nothing in his arms. And she goes, I will never forget just being swept off my feet by William Shatner. She goes, and I didn't even like the guy at the time. But it was like, it was just one of those deals where as a man, you step in, you take control of the bad situation and you help.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He had no idea that anybody didn't like him. He
Yeah.
and Leonard Nimoy, they just handled it differently. Nimoy would sit there and talk to people.
Yeah.
Shatner just wanted to do the job, make sure it was successful, and move on. And he would fuck with Nimoy. Nimoy would fuck with him. And I think that was the thing. He has got a just a sense of humor,
Mhm.
like you and I have. Like I
Right.
think you and I would get along great with a guy like that, like with no problem. And
Yeah.
everybody would hate the three of us instead of just one guy.
Yeah.
But it's just really interesting. If anybody has a chance to read the William Shatner books about the
I have to
cast
check that
and
out for sure.
making of the series, read those books because they're really eye opening. Like
Yeah.
really, really eye opening, and they're really good books.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
the only ones I've talked to from the original
it.
series has been Shatner, Nichelle, and
Uh,
Walter.
oh,
Uh,
nice.
Walter, when I saw him, he's was quite old.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
He's getting.
but he was such a
They're all getting.
kind soul. And Nichelle Nichols, God bless her. She was just it was just so dude, I can't explain what it was like to be right in front of her
Oh, I can
and
only
to actually
imagine.
shake her hand. And it's like
Yeah,
this is and everything that she represents. It was wonderful.
yeah.
So
Especially at the time,
oh God, yeah. Yeah.
just amazing. That
Yeah.
that show in general. Here's how you do a woke show, folks, and not
Star
be
Trek
woke. Star
original
Trek, the
series.
original series. Roddenberry knew that in the future people would be working together,
Hmm.
and hopefully governments will stop trying to separate everybody and
Yes.
just work together and look what you can do. Um, but he put her on the bridge of the Enterprise, and he actually got. He says, I don't know how true this is. I imagine there was a lot of truth to it, that he was getting blowback
Oh, for
from
sure
the
he
higher
was.
ups in Hollywood because they're so open to diversity. Even then, they would say one thing and do
Hmm.
another. That they
Yeah.
were giving him a hard time. They wanted her off the bridge. They wanted her more background. They didn't want her to have any lines. All this shit. And Roddenberry, thank God, looked at them and said, "No,
Yeah.
she's part of the crew."
Yeah.
Okay, then we got to get rid of the guy with the devil ears. No, he's an alien race that proves that humans can work with aliens. We're not getting rid of him, and just so much stuff.
The
What do you mean
makeup of
when they
that
brought?
crew. Yeah.
Yeah, they brought the Russian guy on
Hmm.
Chekhov. All of a sudden, they were about ready to all have a meltdown. He's like, "Look, this is 200-300 years in the future. By then, we're all friends. We're all one planet. We're all exploring space
And they want to
together."
show that, and they want to
Yeah, and I
showcase
want to
that.
show that. And they never got it. Even in the next generation, they didn't really get it.
No,
You still
they
had
still
people
don't
who,
get it. They still don't
yeah,
get it.
yeah. And the ones who say they do are the ones who are making the worst shows, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. The
You're
ones
looking at
who
it like,
try so hard.
yeah, you're
We got to
not
check
getting
this
it.
box. We got to do this. We got to do. No, you don't. You just
Checking
got to write a
boxes.
good story. And yes, because
Hmm.
everything in Star Trek represents all aliens represent different races and people
Right.
working together for the common good of mankind.
Hmm.
They talk about it all the time.
Right.
Sometimes they swing it with a damn hammer. Sometimes they don't, but it's always the same
Yeah.
message of love one another.
Yeah.
But it's, people, God, it just makes it's disgusts me. This is a good movie. I want to get back off of that and
Yeah.
back to the
But Wrath of Khan
Wrath
even
of Khan.
even touches on that
Oh yeah.
because he is genetically superior,
There's a
and
lot there,
he
man.
pushes that. And there's just from Space Seed to Wrath of Khan, you watch those two back to back, and you're like, "Holy crap!" And
Yeah.
if you've never watched an original series episode before, watch Space Seed, then watch Wrath of Khan, and I think you will love the original series Star Trek. You will just go,
Oh
"Holy
yeah.
crap!
It's
This is
what
good stuff."
one thing I'll say is on Paramount, the original series is all cleaned up
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
effects look to be enhanced. It looks really damn good
yeah.
for a show from the 60s. It's like, holy cow.
And what I like about them doing the cleanup and adding the digital enterprise in this, and
Mhm.
it's really hard for me to watch even now, but what I do like is they didn't do a whole lot different.
No,
It
it
In the
touched up.
cuts of the original series, the Enterprise would be flying by a planet, just
Mhm.
doing like a float by. They still have that float by. They just have it with a better computer generated model. The
Mhm.
planet looks a little bit better and cleaner.
Yeah,
I
it's
still like the
noticeable.
original. I
Yeah.
still like the original, but they don't go. oh well, let's see what we can really do. Let's see what angle we can shoot. We're going to come down through the top, or we're just going to do a complete. They don't do that. It's just the original, basically the original shot,
They
only
don't
with
add a bunch of
enhanced.
creatures in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
weren't there. They
exactly.
don't pull a George Lucas on it, and that's
They
what
don't
I.
have yeah, they don't have a cantina band just showing up for no reason.
Yeah, yeah,
But the acting in this,
yeah.
the gravitas of Khan. Oh my God, Ricardo Montalban. I've seen him in a lot of stuff, and he's just in this. He just plays such a good villain.
Oh, absolutely.
Man, he plays a good villain, folks. I cannot recommend this movie enough. The director, Harvey
Right.
Bennett.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, not Harvey. Harvey Bennett was, I believe, the producer. I'm sorry, I'm getting my people mixed up. Nicholas Meyer is the
Nicholas
director.
Meyer.
Uh, Jack B. Sowards was the screenplay writer, and I wanted to make sure I said his name because this is a really good screenplay.
It is.
This
It
is how you
is.
do it.
Well,
And Harv Bennett was one of the guys who came up with the story, and I believe he was one of the producers and,
well, the
and
fact that
stuff like
they
that.
made a point to tie it in so perfectly,
Yeah.
um, I love that it just
Mhm.
it just works. I will give my opinion on this. Must watch. It is out
Yeah.
of the Star Trek movies, out of the 9 that we're going to be reviewing. This is probably going to end up being my favorite. It's been a while since I've
It,
watched them all again. It's always been my favorite out of them. It'll probably stay that way.
gonna
So,
be your favorite. There's
what
only
about you,
one or
Dave?
two that come. There's only one or two that come kind of close, and they're still a mile off.
Yeah,
So, but
because after this, I go to
this is
First
my
Contact.
go-to.
So,
Yeah, this is my yeah, exactly. And even First Contact, they got it wrong.
I know it's still good though.
But we'll talk about what they got wrong in First Contact and how they kept screwing up Star Trek for a little while when we get there.
Yeah.
Real quick before we shut off, I just want to mention Paul Winfield, who plays Captain Terrell of the Reliant.
Oh, yeah.
One of my all-time favorite characters, and I was so depressed to have see what happens to that character. I was just like, oh man,
Yeah.
you couldn't save the guy. But it was again, it was a hero's death.
Mhm.
Falling on your sword. That was a
It
hero.
showed
Yeah,
his,
his true character. Like,
yeah, it really did.
oh, such a good character, and he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
Another guy that I just when I see him in something, I'm
Oh,
hey,
yeah, and
I'm
yeah,
gonna watch him. I think he's passed away now. I didn't double check, but I think Paul
probably.
Winfield has passed away. But yeah, I mean Christy Alley, Ricardo
She's gone as
Montalban.
well, yeah,
You
so
had BB Besh as Carol, the doctor. Merritt Butrick was played David, which was Kirk's
mm,
son. He's passed away. I
dang.
think he died in a car accident, if I remember correctly, years and years ago. Um, but yeah, a lot of the folks, I'm just going through the names and I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah.
there's nobody left, you
That's
know?
gonna happen as we review old ass movies, there's hardly
Yeah,
any left.
yeah, there's hardly any left. But man, they are good movies, folks.
Yeah.
Highly recommend Wrath of Khan. Enjoy it. Watch Space Seed. I
Yes,
recommend watching Space
absolutely.
Seed first.
You can do it either way, but I definitely recommend watching it first, and had I
Mhm.
thought of it, I'd have done that and just rolled right
Yeah.
into the movie because it's perfect, it's good, it's a good episode.
And I would recommend if you haven't watched the original movie yet, watch The Changeling
Yeah.
from the
I
original
need to go
series.
watch that one.
You'll sit there and go, why didn't they just release this at the theater?
Probably would have been better. I'm sure it is.
But yeah, it's good stuff. Solid writing, solid acting. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
beat this movie really. Now, when it comes to science fiction and Star Trek, this is still my favorite Star Trek. I got Deep Space Nine, the original series. They are like neck and neck.
Yeah.
I love Cisco. So
Yeah, I need to journey into the Deep Space Nine. So
it's good. I
I've seen a
highly
few
recommend it.
episodes, and that's about it. But I just never tried to even get through it. So
Oh, I get it. I understand.
I'll get to it eventually.
When Cisco shaves his head and Worf comes on DS9, all hell's getting ready to break loose, baby. It builds up to that. Is all I'm
Cool.
gonna say.
Yeah, well, God bless Michael Dorn. He is definitely a
Oh,
blessed actor because he has been in more Star Trek than any other Star Trek actor.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, that's amazing. That guy,
Yeah,
I'd like see, that's a guy that I would like to meet because I think he's a really nice he seems like a really nice,
he
down to
is.
earth guy. So I
He
would
is.
really like to meet him.
Yeah.
Out of all of them, I think he's the one, him and, my mind just went blank, the guy who plays Data. Um,
Brent Spiner.
Thank you, Brent Spiner, are the like, the 2 guys I would just love to meet because Brent Spiner is underrated as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
He played in a movie called Out to Sea
Mhm.
with Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. It was like one of the first things I saw him in after the original series or the Next Generation, and I just remember going laughing because he plays such a venomous little turd. It's just such a good character for him to play, and you're
Wha
like, oh my god, I love this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I'll say about Brent is he's one of those people that when you, talk to him, you just smile. He's
Yeah,
got such a good energy, and most of these
nice.
people do.
Yeah,
I
nice. Puts
I
it
I
all
love
together.
the Star Trek actors because they give the love back to their fans. You can
Yeah.
go talk to them. You
Hmm.
can gush with them, and they're happy, and you can
Yeah.
tell they love because they know they've been blessed with. I mean, you get on that show like that.
How
What
great is that?
I mean, come on. So the fact that they do give back to their fans is what's been
Yeah.
amazing. Um,
The Wrath of
Wrath of
Khan. Oh,
Khan, fucking awesome. I definitely say check it out.
yeah, definitely,
Definitely.
definitely.
So I'd like to thank our new subscribers. Thanks for coming along. Drop us a line. Tell us how
Hey,
you
good
found us.
job.
I'd like to know where you found us. And hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the share. We have many reviews over on TikTok. They're about 30 seconds. If you want to just get a recap, I'm going through all the old ones and we'll see what
I love that
happens.
you're doing that.
Yeah, well, I slack a little bit. They're getting up there.
That's cool.
So be sure to check us out next week when we bring you more of something else because we're going to be bouncing in and out of the Star Trek universe so
Yeah.
we don't burn ourselves out if possible. We'll see.
Is it possible?
It's possible. Star Wars did a number on me after 11
Yeah.
movies in a row. So
There's only 5 worth of shit.
I know. It's those other 6 that were white
Oh,
people.
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. All right.
This is
So we will
new
catch you next
nerddom.
week. What's that?
So this is new nerddom.
Nerddom. Yeah. New
Nerddom.
nerd. I can't even
Nerddom.
say it.
Nerddom. Yeah, I had a hard time. Sounds better in my head.
Right,
Thank
right,
you,
right.
folks.
Have a good night. We'll catch you later.